welcome back. Today we're going to be doing the Map-2 section. And due to a failed recording I got through about the first 4 and then realized I just messed something up with the recording. So I'm doing this section, or at least the first half of this section again. So let's go ahead and get started. Given an array of strings, return a map from string to integer containing a key for every different string in the array, always with the value 0. So go ahead and pause and try this one. Okay, so note that we don't have to worry about duplicates in our string array because keys will only allow, or keys will not allow duplicate, maps will not allow duplicate keys. So even if we tried to put in, the same key twice, it'll be fine because, it won't allow us to have duplicates. So we don't need to worry about that. So I'm just going to create a map here. Okay, and then for each string, I'm going to map that string to the value 0. And then just return my map. And that's how we could do that one. Another alternate solution that, again, I'm not going to explain, but you're free to look into if you want to, is this here. Alright, so that is another way to do it. Alright, so given an array of strings, return a map from strings to integers containing a key for every different string, where the value is that string's length. Pause and try this one. Okay, so again, we will start off by making a map here. And then for each string, I'm just going to put s. I'm going to map s to its length. And it's okay if we have duplicates because I'm just going to overwrite s with its length again, but they're the same value, so it doesn't matter that I have duplicates and I might be overwriting things because I'm always overwriting them with the same value. So that's how I could do this one. If you wanted an alternative solution, I will show you that here. Very similar to what we did last time. Here. So that is, if I comment this out, that is another way to do it. Alright, so given an array of non-empty strings, return a map from string to string as follows. For each string, add its first character as a key and its last character as the value. Pause and try this one. Okay, so once again, we'll start off with a map from string to string. And for each string here, what we'll do is I'll just put the first character and map it to the last character. And then I'll just return the map. And that's how I'll do this one. We can't do s.char at 0 because it wants it as a string. So we have to do the substring from 0 to 1 and the substring from s.length minus 1 to the end. And then an alternate solution I will show to you now. Here we go. Comment this out again. Okay. Okay, and that is another way to do this one here. Okay, so on this one, given an array of strings, return a map from string to integer with a key for each different string where the value is the number of times that string appears in the array. So go ahead and pause and try this one. Alright, so I'm going to start it off with a map from strings to integers. And then for each string in my array of strings, I'm going to say if the map does not contain this key, contains key s, I'm just going to put s and give it the value 1 because this is my first occurrence of s. And then what I'm going to do is say, okay, if I do contain s, I'm going to put that for the value of s, I'm going to put the current value of s plus 1. And then I can return the map. And that's how we could do this one. An alternative way to do this would be to use this method called putIfAbsent. It's a method that you can probably guess what it does. If you give it a key and a value, and if the key is not in the map, then it will put the key in the map with the given value, and if the key is already in the map, then it does nothing. So putIfAbsent, I'll give it the key and the value 0, and then I'll just increment it. So I'll put s with map.getS plus 1. And this is another way to do it. Basically, if I haven't seen the string before, I'm setting its value to 0, and then I'm immediately incrementing it. So that is how we do this one here. And then yet another way to do this middle part here is to use a method called merge. It's going to be a method that I'm, again, going to let you look into if you want to. But here is another way to do this. Um, yeah, so that is, again, another way to do this. You can look into merge if you want. This stuff here with these arrows, these are called lambda expressions. We're going to talk about them in the next video. But I won't bother mentioning them now or detailing them now. And then yet another solution to this problem is to do as follows. So that is another way to do it here. All right, so let's go on to the next one. All right, given an array of non-empty strings, return a map from string to string with a key for every different character, every different first character seen, with the value of all the strings starting with that character appended together in the order they appear in the array. Pause and try this one. All right, so here is what we'll do. We'll start out with a map, string, and then for each string in my array, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say, okay, if the map does not contain, actually I'll go ahead and start with putIfAbsent. I'll say, okay, put the first character of this string with the empty string, map it to the empty string. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put s.substring 0 to 1. I'm going to map this to whatever the current value is. And I'm going to actually factor this out because I'm going to be using this a lot. So I'll just say, I'll call it first. I'll say string first equals this. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay, so and then put first to whatever its current value is plus plus the actual string to concatenate it on there. And let's see, yeah, I think that's all we need to do, and then we can return the map, and that's how we could do this one. And then I'll give you an alternative way here is to do, we can do again map.merge, which you can look into on your own if you want to. Let's see, okay, sorry, we want to do, s.substring 0 to 1. And that is, again, an alternative way to do it here. We don't need that anymore. And we could do it like this as well. And then, let's see, another way to do it, yet another alternative solution is to do this. I'm going to try to do it this way. I'm not quite sure that I can do this here, but I'll try it. So what I'll do is I'll say the key is going to be the first character. The value is going to be the string. And then if we have conflicting values, we concatenate them together. Okay, so that is another way to do it, and this part can be replaced by string, : concat. there's a method on the string class called concat that takes in two strings and just adds them, like concatenates them together. There's really no need to do this because we have the plus sign in Java that'll just concatenate them. So yeah, you don't need to do that. But yeah, that is how we could do this one. Loop over the given array of strings to build a result string like this. When a string appears as a second, fourth, sixth, etc. time in the array, append the string to the result. Return the empty string if no string appears a second time. Okay, pause and try this one. Okay, so whenever it occurs the second, fourth, sixth, etc. time, we want to add it to our result string. So this one, it doesn't, it like implicitly requires a map. It doesn't explicitly say, you take or return a map, but you can use a map to solve this one here. So here's what we'll do. I'll make a map from strings to integers that will be the number of times I've seen this string so far. So I'll make it like this, and then I'll go through my strings here. And I'll say, okay, first put if absent s 0, and then I'm going to just increment it. So put s to map.get s plus 1. And so now I know that the times it has occurred is map.get s. That's the number of times s as it has occurred. Or in other words, this number here is the current occurrence of s that I'm on. And so if this number is even, so if times remainder 2 is 0, I'm going to add it to my result string, which I need to declare. Result plus equals s, and then I just return the result, and I'll declare that up here. And so that is how we could do this one. And believe it or not, I don't really have an alternate solution for you. One way we could make this a bit more concise, though, is we could say map.merge s1 integer sum. And there we go. That's an alternative way to do that one here. And let me actually check one thing on the merge method. It says okay, where I'm trying to figure out where it says what this method returns. The new value associated with the key. Okay, so map.merge will actually return the value that this key has after doing the merge. So this will also work as well, just making it very concise. And if you really wanted to, you could do it like that here as well. So, but this, I think this, at this point, this is way too unreadable. This is just bad. But yeah, that is how you could do this one. Right, so given an array of strings, return a map from strings to Boolean, where each different string is a key and its value is true if that string appears 2 or more times in the array. Pause and try this one. Okay, so let's do this one. So I want a map from strings to Booleans. And then for each string in my array, I'm going to say, okay. So let's see what I want to do. I want to say if the map does not contain s, then I want to just put s to have the value false. And then otherwise, if the map does contain s, then this must be the second time I've seen s, second or more time that I've seen s. So I'm going to put s to have the value true. And then I'm just going to return my map. And that's how we could do this one. Note that if you want to be a bit clever, you could just put you could do map.put s and have its value be if the map contains the key s. So that's a bit of a clever way to do this one here. And I do actually have an alternate solution here. So let me show you that. We could say could stream our strings and collect them Alright, and that is another way to do this one here. Alright, allSwap. We'll say that two strings match if they are non-empty and their firstChars are the same. Loop over, and then return the given array of non-empty strings as follows. If a string matches an earlier string in the array, swap the two strings in the array. When a position in the array has been swapped, it no longer matches anything. Using a map, this can solve by making just one pass over the array. More difficult than it looks. Pause and try this one. Okay, so we are going to have to use a map here, and my strategy is going to be as follows. I'm going to make a map from strings to integers, and this map is going to store the last occurrence of an array, sorry, the last occurrence of a string starting with the given key, which is going to be like just a length one string that's the first letter of a string. So I'm going to make my map here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my strings, and I'm actually going to need to do it based on the index indices because I'm going to need to swap some things. So I can do I less than strings.length, I plus plus. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, first of all, the string at this index is going to be s. It's going to be strings at I. And if s is empty, then I'm just going to continue because I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to go back to the top of the loop. I've talked about continue before. Okay, but otherwise, its first character is going to be s.substring 0 to 1. Okay, and now what I'm going to see is I'm going to see, okay, does the map already contain this key? And if the map does contain this key, if it does contain first, then the value for that key is going to be the last index that I saw first at. So if map contains key first, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap, I'm going to get its value. So I'm going to say last seen equals map.get first. This is the index where I last saw a string that matched s, or in other words, a string that started with first. So map.get first. And then I'm just going to swap them. I'm going to say string, the temporary string is going to be strings at index I. Strings at index I is going to be strings at index last seen. And the string at index last seen is going to be strings at index I. We've swapped things plenty of times before. And then otherwise, if the map does not contain the key first, I'm going to put it as a key. So I'm going to put first and map it to I, which is the current index, the index where I just found first. And then the other thing I'm going to do to make sure that I don't swap things multiple times is I'm going to remove the key. Once I've done a swap with something, with an index, I'm going to remove its key from the map. So I'm not going to add I to the map, and I'm going to remove the last time I saw first. Last time I saw a string that started with first in my array. I'm going to remove that index from the map. So I'm going to remove first from the map here. And then I can just return the map here. And that is almost how we could do it. Perhaps almost. So strings is going to be the array I want to return. And let's see what I've done here. So I think, oh, I just did the swapping wrong. Okay, that's a bit better. So that is how we could do this one. I'm going to walk through an example here. Let's do this one here. I'll move it, or I'll get Paint pulled up here. I'm going to move this over to my other screen, but I'll read it off and write it on this screen that you can see. So basically, the input is AX. And by the way, if you understand this part, feel free to skip to the next problem. If you understand how my algorithm works here. So CX, AY, CY, A, and then A, B, B. So that's our input. Let me go over here. So that is our input here. Okay, so here's what basically I'm doing. I'm saying, okay, I loop through the array and I say, okay, I have my map down here. I'll use it like, I'll just do like keys over here, and values will do like a t-chart and values here. Okay, so I go through my array. Okay, I see the first one. I see, okay, it starts with A. Do I have a key for A? No, I don't. So I set A equal to the index in my array where it occurs. So this is the first element in my array, so it's 0. And then I say, okay, go to the next one, bx. Do I have B anywhere? Do I have B as a key yet? No, I don't. So I put it in here, and its index was 1. I'm going to put actually plenty of space here. B and its index was 1. Okay, cool. And then I go to the next one, and it's cx. And I say, okay, do I have C in my map? No, I don't. So I go in here, and I put C, and it's at index 2. And then I go to the next one, and it's AY. And I say, okay, is A in my map? Yes, it is. And the value A is going to have in my map is the last index where I saw A. So the last index where I saw A was 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap this current index, which is 3, where I currently am, and the last index where I found A. So I'll go ahead and do that. So I'm going to swap AY and AX here. So AY, oops, let me go to the right color. AY and AX, right? That's how it was? Okay, yeah. AY goes here. AY goes here. And AX goes here. And maybe that little spot is annoying you. Okay, so that's great. And then what I do is I remove it from my map. So I actually remove A completely from my map. And so that way, I now have no knowledge of the two indices. I have no knowledge of these indices where I found A's in the past. And then I just go through and I say, okay, this is CY. Do I have C in my map? Yes, I do. It's down here. And the last time I saw C was at index 2, which is right here. And so then I go ahead and swap these. So it becomes CY first, and then CX. So CY, and then CX. And I remove it from my map here. Okay, and then I keep going, and I say, okay, next string is AAA. Do I have A in my map? No, I don't. Oops. Do I have A in my map? I don't have A in my map. What are you doing, Paint? So then I go ahead and I put A in my map, and I say this is index 5. And then I keep going. I say, okay, ABB, do I have A in my map? Yes, I do. So then I go ahead and I swap them here. I swap this with the last index of A, which I know here. And so now it's AB goes ABB, and then AA, BA, AA, and then I remove it from my map here. And map might have stuff left over. It doesn't matter. Okay, and that's how I do this problem here. Let me just make sure this is correct. A Y B X C Y A X C X B A B B A A. Okay, so we are correct here. Let me go to CodingBat. So that is basically how my algorithm is working here. Okay, this is the last one in the section. We'll say that two strings match if they are non-empty and their first chars are the same. Loop over and then return the given array of non-empty strings as follows. If a string so if a string matches an earlier string in the array, swap the two strings in the array. A particular first char can only cause one swap. So once a char has caused a swap, its later swaps are disabled. Using a map, this can be solved using just one pass over the array. More difficult than it looks. Okay, pause and try this one. Okay, so kind of similar to the last problem. Going to have a map from strings to integers. And I'm going to loop over my strings here. Okay, and then I'm going to get the first character, and I know that these strings are non-empty because it says that in the problem statement. It might have said that last time too. So the first character is that. Okay, and then so here's what I'll do. My map, if it maps a string to a non-negative index, that index will be the last time I saw that string, or that first character, I should say. And then if my map maps any starting character to a negative number, I'll just use -1. If it maps to -1, that means I've already seen that character twice, and thus I've already used it as a swap, and therefore it's disabled. So I'm using -1 to mean that that character is disabled. Okay, so I'm going to get the current. Well, first I'll say if the map does not contain s as a key, I'm going to put s to have the value I, and I'll actually need to do a index-based for loop, so strings.length I++, and this will need to be strings I, and I'll just say string s equals strings I. So if it does not contain the first character as a key, then I'm going to put first to have the value I. And then otherwise, if the current value is greater than or equal to 0, so if it's a non-negative index, then I'm going to need to swap them. I'm going to need to, and I'm going to add curly braces here, I'm going to need to swap index I with the whatever map.getFirst is. So I'm going to say last seen is map.getFirst, and then I'm going to just swap them here. So temp is strings I, and in fact I already know that what strings I is, so all I can do actually to swap these is I can say strings I equals the array at last seen, and I can say the value at last seen equals s, because I stored that earlier, so I don't even need the temp. And then what I can do is say, otherwise, I know it stores a negative number. I could say that explicitly, but I know that that's the only other possibility, is that it stores a negative number, and so I'm just not going to do anything. And by the way, after I've done the swap, I set the value of first to be a negative number. And so down here, since I'm actually not doing anything in this else statement, I just don't need it. And then I can return my string array. And that is how we could do this one. All right, so that is all I have for this video. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Yeah, let's go back to the main page. All right, so we have 2 more sections left. Functional 1 and functional 2. We'll get to talk finally about the lambdas that I've been throwing in occasionally. But that'll be next time. I will see you later.